All right, welcome everybody. This is our first in our series of interviews, and we've got Brian Dansel, who's running for Congressional District 5. He's one of the candidates, one of the four Republican candidates. How many do we have? We have
Well, I
five
think
Republican candidates, actually. Yes, and so we've got Brian with us here today, and he's kind of the first one in the hopper for me. So hopefully everyone has grace as we do this. And thank you, Brian, for let us, do some experimentation with you as the first one. So I don't know if that's going to be a good or bad thing, but we'll find out, right?
well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Okay, so we're going to start, do about 20 minutes here today. I'm going to ask you the first question just to tell us about yourself and why you're running, give you a couple minutes on that. And then we'll ask five other questions and give you 3 minutes on those and give you some time for final comment. So Brian, tell this community why are you running and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks, MJ. First of all, thank you to you and the party for doing this. I think it's way cool. My name is Brian Dansel. I'm running for the 5th Congressional District seat here in Eastern Washington. I'm a county commissioner right now in Ferry County. Before that, I was a Washington State Senator for 4 years in the 7th Legislative District. And then eventually I was a appointee in the Trump administration, where I was an advisor at the National Economic Council and the United States Department of Agriculture before I came back home and ran the Farm Service Agency, and then got my final appointment in the Trump administration at the USDA as the regional director for the Farm Conservation and Production Mission Area. And so with that, I oversaw 3 agencies in a 6-state region. When I came back to Ferry County, I was appointed again to the county commission. And so that's kind of a little bit of where I've been. But the reason I'm running is I want to take all that experience at the local level, at the state, and now at the federal level, and specifically because I was able to be in there in the Trump administration. So take that experience, but then also double down on an America First agenda and try to get as much results as we possibly can for Eastern Washington. And for, when I say results, I mean border security, I mean economic development and job opportunities here in Spokane and the whole entire region. But I also mean like having America have standing in the world again. I feel like we haven't had that in quite some time, and I'd like to be part of the effort to go back and really honestly make America first again. That used to be not a bad term, and it isn't in my opinion, and I'm sure not in your opinion still, but to the media and to the folks that are on the other side of the aisle, it sure is, and it shouldn't be. We should all care about our country first and foremost, and then care about others or whatever. So all of those in combination are why I'm running. I think that I would be the best choice based on my voting record. I've never voted for tax increases. I didn't vote for any diversity, equity, and inclusion ever. I never voted for the DREAM Act, which gave free college tuition to illegal aliens. And I think that that's something to be said for that. Now, on the flip side of that, I think I paid the consequences for those votes because I wasn't a go along to get along. And but I think that if you believe that money plays too much of a part in politics and that money having influence in the political system is a bad thing, I'd love to have your vote because I'm a guy that's never had a surplus account. I've never been part of that whole thing. So it's kind of a holistic thing where I think my experiences, but then I also think my approach is right on. And finally, I was really honored to get the 4-to-1, support as the Washington State Republican Party and only endorsed candidate. I think what that says is that people share that vision, that people share those values and want someone in there that has the right makeup for politics, but also wants to take the right approach.
Great, great, awesome. And just so the audience knows too, Brian's out there doing it. He's out there doorbelling, and so he's from his car somewhere are you in Spokane? Is that right? Or Spokane County or somewhere, right?
I'm near. Yeah, I'm nearby.
That's what I thought. So that's awesome. All right. Next question is, why do you believe that people should vote for you this August over your fellow opponents? You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, and maybe I delved into that a little bit. First of all, let me just say this. I think this is really important, and I want this message to go out there because I think we're all thinking it. I don't have anything against my opponents that are Republicans. I think they're good people. I think that one of the things that we've got to do better as a party is come together and not let, the Bob Ferguson types win. I think that there are problems within the party, yes, but I really do believe that as a party, we always operate better when we can try to get our troops rallied in one direction. And so I just want to say that as a preface. I think that sometimes we get lost in that. I genuinely like the people that I'm unfortunately having to run against. Why I think I would be the best one to support? I think I've got the best track record. I think that I've got the best shot of winning, frankly, in this election. I do have the endorsement of the state party. I'm the only one that was in the Trump administration. And then I think I've got the right combination of experience when it comes to the local government and then agriculture. You know, the 5th Congressional District is a heavy agricultural district. It's a reason why Kathy McMorris Rogers was so vested in agricultural purposes. And in fact, so was Nethercutt and all the way back to Foley. They had to be up on all the ag issues. It's very important when it comes to not only wheat and commodity prices, but also like the Snake River dams and our hydroelectric and protecting that as we move forward. So those are some of the reasons I think I would be a great choice, while at the same time not wanting to put any one of the other people down, because I think that we do that too much.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I appreciate that. All right. Let's see here. Let me figure out my clock management. All right. Given the pervasive influence of money and lobbyists in Washington, D.C., along with the strong presence of special interest groups, how do you intend to effectively navigate and combat these pressures to genuinely represent and stand up for the interests of the citizens in the 5th Congressional District? Probably the biggest thing I hear from people, Brian. This is of concern.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is why I think I might be the best choice. It's because I've never been part of that club. And I would invite people to go back and look. I've never had a surplus account. I was never part of the fundraiser photo op crowd. In fact, I think you would hear, and it might be said even in these interviews, the knock against me will be that I don't have access. I don't have as good access to the money as I should have. So if you're wanting to contribute to a campaign that's worthy, go to danselforcongress.com. But no, I think that that's honestly my strong suit. When you have experience of not getting involved in that and literally making the decision. I mean, let me tell you, when I was in the Washington State Senate, there was a clear decision that I had to make. Everybody does. And the decision is, are you going to be part of that? Are you going to be part of the system? And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Or are you going to stand on your own ideals and your conscience and try to best represent your people? And I'm so proud of that. I'm absolutely proud of the fact that I always stood with my people. And like I said, it ties into the thing where I talked about earlier. I think it cost me. I think, when I didn't vote for the gas tax, the highest gas tax increase in the history of America, I think I was branded as the guy that just didn't want to govern. That's kind of what the term is when the Republicans were in control and we wanted to raise taxes, we called it governing. But for me, it was still the same people that couldn't afford the tax increase. I still had people that were like pleading with me that would, hey, listen, it's really gotten hard to, operate a business here in Eastern Washington and still make all my other payments and put my kids through school and try to save to see if they want to go to college. I mean, it's the same exact story that I'm sure, MJ, that you've heard over and over. And probably, I guess one of the things I really admire about you individually is I know that you didn't come into politics as like a prodigy. You kind of like were drug in, not wanting even really probably to get involved. I think that's how so many people right now in the party feel. And I guess I'd reach out to the PCOs that are watching this and just say, I think I would be your guy. I mean, I know I would be because I know that I've been the same way. I got involved for very, very different reasons than most people get involved in the political game. And so I've been proud. I've been frankly proud to be a voice for common people. And I've been proud to be able to win elections without having to go in and take that money. I mean, and I invite people to go look at that too. My first election, I raised $39,000 from the hardworking people up in the area where I live from, and won against 180,000. And then the next time it was even more of a drastic, separation. And I kind of pride myself on that. I think that we all should. I think that all Americans and everybody that's part of the voting system, the political system, should want there to be less influence when it comes to money being able to control how votes go.
All right. Good. Okay. Next question is, given the challenges and controversy surrounding COVID-19 mandates, What specific steps would you advocate for at the federal level to balance public health interests with individual liberties? And how would you work to prevent the overreaching use of mandates for measures such as masking and vaccination in future public health crises?
Well, first of all, I think that the first thing to be aware of is that I think that they're going to use literally anything to be considered a public health crisis. And so I think that that's the first thing, is to like be aware of that and don't fall for the trap. I guess I found it interesting that there were so many state legislatures, not just ours, but so many across the country, that within 9 months of COVID happening, voted to give their governors unchecked powers when it came to, uh, emergency powers. And so to me, I think you have to roll that back. Let me just say on the line and publicly without any hesitation, I don't believe in any mandates and any mandated vaccines or masks or anything. Here's what I believe in. I believe the American people and individuals should be able to make their own decisions, plain and simple. And so I would be in favor of anything along those lines. And then I think that there's been enough proof. And of course, even with recent events, we know that Anthony Fauci should be prosecuted. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind. I don't think in many people's minds that that guy had an enormous amount of control when it came to all of that, and knowingly put out information that was incorrect or that wasn't up to date. And so there are just so many angles on it. But I do tell you what I see, though. I saw it as a missed opportunity, because one of the things that I think I'd be good at is my approach to this. And how cool would it have been when we were in the middle of COVID if we had, from the congressperson all the way down to the local conservative school board member, being able to have strategy sessions together, so we had a unified response and we could come out as a team and be able to, fight back against all the different, liberal onslaught that we had coming at us. I think that's missing. And I think that we need somebody that understands the strategy of it, because that's really where I think we got beat, is that everybody was kind of going off on their own and trying to, take their own stand. How cool would it have been if we had real strategy sessions and came up with solutions for people that didn't include mandates, but that included, boy, let's look at it from a realistic perspective. Maybe kids shouldn't have any kind of anything, because we can look at the evidence and see that kids are going to beat it, and there's hardly any mortality rate with children. Whereas with folks that are older with breathing problems and maybe heart issues, maybe we should segregate them in certain scenarios and so on and so forth. And I think you would get more public buy-in when you don't have mandates. I think when you start trying to tell people you're forced to do this or else lose your livelihood, I think that's borderline communism. Call me crazy, but to me, when you can make someone get a shot that they disagree with, or it might go against their own health, or else you lose your livelihood. To me, I think that there should be like the potential for everybody that lost their job because of that to be able to get damages.
Yeah, for sure. All right. How do you plan? This is big topic right now. How do you plan to address the most pressing issues facing our constituents, such as illegal immigration, cost of living, and inflation, and crime and national debt? It's a loaded one.
Yeah, I might have to ask you for to go out. I'll take them first time for immigration. We got to build a border wall. We've got to follow Donald Trump's lead on that. I was kind of amazed. I don't know if people watched the North Central High School debate, but the Democrats are literally blaming Donald Trump for illegal immigration, which is hilarious if it wasn't so sad. So I think we've got to follow the lead there, finish the border wall, enforce the laws on the books. Forever and ever, the biggest thing is that they would just make exceptions to the rules, which doesn't make any sense at all. And then finally, I think the other part of it too is that we have to have a sane strategy when it comes to getting the people back to the countries that they are from. I mean, one of the issues that I think is going to be big is when we go to get these folks and they come in and they're abusing the refugee status, is they sit in the holding areas for too long. I think there needs to be quicker turnaround times. I don't think that they should sit in the United States of America for 3 months and then be able to, it's kind of a tragedy on all fronts. So I don't think that's good. I think get back to your country of origin. And then I've said this before. I think we could honestly look at Canada, MJ. I told people, try and move to Canada right now. You have to, even if you had a great profession and $1 million in the bank, you probably wouldn't be able to get into Canada to be a full-time resident because they have a sane immigration system where you have to be able to prove that you can pay your own way, and we don't. And so why wouldn't we? Why do other, I don't ever hear Canada being called racist for having a sane immigration, system. It's only Donald Trump and the Republicans in the year 2024 are the racist because we want sane immigration. I mean, honest to goodness, it just doesn't make any sense. And I said what I said in the debate, and I believe it. I believe that they didn't want to fix it in the Democratic Party because they made the calculation that they could pull at enough heartstrings and get more votes that way. And that's all. I don't think that they have any real, they can't refute the evidence on the southern border, or the numbers that are coming out of immigration. So what other purpose would it be other than just to try to placate your own party to get more votes? I think that's exactly what they did.
How about cost of living, inflation, or crime, national debt?
Yeah, so the cost of living, and we've got to stop the reckless spending. And then we've got to also, I don't think that we've had good sound monetary or fiscal policy for 50 years in this country. That's going to be the hardest thing to overturn, frankly, because that's going to involve trying to rein in the Federal Reserve. And I don't know that that's possible right now with the makeup of Congress. So I think that one of those things, and one of the things that the next congressperson from the 5th Congressional District has to have as an awareness is they have to be aware and understand that you're not going to get everything in one term, right? This has got to be a long-term goal where you try to build coalitions and over time try to tackle the spending problem. But how would I go about it? I would just, I don't think that I have to reinvent the wheel here. I think Ron and Rand Paul had a great idea with the penny plan, where you go in and every government agency, you ask if, say it's $10 million, we need you to make your budget next year $9,500,000, and we know that there's enough fluff and everything in every agency to where that's possible. MJ, I think why I would be great at this is because I've been in the federal government. I can tell you for 100% certainty, there is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in the federal government that we could rein in spending immediately. But of course, the problem is that everybody in Congress has got their sacred cow, right? And so each person's sacred cow is different. For me, it might be, I told you, agricultural or economic development in Spokane. Whereas for others, it might be a totally different district. I'm guessing Hawaii and Eastern Washington don't have too much in common. And so they're going to be things that certain people won't give on. And so I think you have to see it as a long-term thing and also as one that you don't have to get too inventive. I don't think you have to have a 14-point plan. I think that the genius of the penny plan is everyone can understand it in one sentence. And I think certain times we do need to look at complex data and try to understand it and really determine what that means and what it means going forward. And then I think at other times, and I think you would agree with me on this, what are we overthinking things for? Like, we know what the answer is. Let's just do the common sense thing,
Yeah, for sure. All right. How do you plan to engage with and be accountable to your constituents?
That's the thing that I would pride myself the most on, MJ. It wouldn't be through, as you could probably tell, it wouldn't be through the fundraiser crowd and that sort of thing. Where you would see a Congressman Dansel would be at the state B tournament when my little schools were competing there. I would have strategy sessions with people like yourself and other folks that are involved in the party. And I would want to try to also get those same folks to come back to DC. One of the things that I was proud of as a senator, I always had people come over to Olympia. I think it's good to get an idea of what we're looking at. And so I think it's more than just a one-way street. I think it'd be trying to figure out ways that we could get folks from Eastern Washington to come back to Washington, DC, kind of get a lay of the land themselves and understand just how much of a team concept this really is. I think one huge advantage I would have is I don't think I am the best thing since sliced bread. I really don't. But I do know a lot of people that are talented. And so I think you get a great team of people, and they'll keep you grounded as well. They'll keep you in touch. If there's somebody that's engaged in their community and they're part of your team, you're going to automatically stay more engaged because they've got their ear to the ground. And I think a lot of times, I'll go a step further. I think that politicians a lot of times have actually went the opposite. I think that they've tried to shelter themselves from that. They don't want to know what the regular folks are going through because, regular folks, there's a lot of inherent problems having to deal with them. They usually don't bring you the big check and the big pat on the back. They usually have issues that they want to talk about and deal with. And that's where I think I would shine because that's what I want to do. I don't want to go and do the pomp and circumstance thing. I want to talk to the people that have the common everyday issues, because I'm one of you, and that's, I think, really in the to final assessment, that's where I think I would relate real well to all the people. Even the folks that don't know. One of the things I think I would be really good at is, I know that I'm not everybody's flavor, and not everybody's flavor in the Republican Party. But one of the things I pride myself on is I very much pride myself on being able to go back afterwards and knowing the value of lasting renewable relationships. Because if you're going to be in this business for very long and try to get anything done that's going to benefit your people, you have to be able to go back to people and work with them. And that's why I think I'll finish with how I started. That's why I think it's so important that we don't eat our own in this race. But I do think it's important that we try to start now, especially when we've seen polls come out where, the Democrats are getting the first two spots. I think it's time to consolidate that support and get the horse that you're behind over the finish line. I don't want to call myself a horse, but I hope I'm your horse.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to throw one more question in there, if you will bear with me and play, and I'll ask the other candidates the same question. But it came up kind of in my head as we were talking. Who is your favorite congressperson right now?
I really like a lot of different things from different people, and I'm very well read. But if you have to ask about like my favorite one, the one that I like the most is Thomas Massie, Congressman Thomas Massie. And the reason that I like Congressman Massey is I don't find him to be flamboyant. I don't find him to be somebody that's trying to, like get on TV just for the sake of getting on TV. I really feel that he's genuine in what he says. And I feel that when he talks, he has purpose behind it. And so that really more than even the politics. I just feel like he's a good guy. I think he really does serve for the right reasons, and there's probably a lot of them across the spectrum that that aren't as well known. But the one that I know that I look up to would be Thomas Massie. I think there are a handful that are very talented, but he would be the one that I would say.
All right, great. And then give you a couple minutes, Brian, to just give your final comments to our constituents here.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, MJ, and to all the PCOs and the people within the Republican Party. It's really been my honor to go around and get to meet everybody. It was my honor to earn your endorsement at the state convention in Spokane. And I hope moving forward that I'll be able to maintain that support and that vote. I think I would be a good choice to be your next congressperson because of the reasons I've already listed. But more than that, I just want to ask you, how long have you sat back and watched the political system and the political landscape and thought to yourself, when are we going to elect one of us? And I don't mean that as a political thing or against anybody, but when are we going to elect someone that's in tune with the people that make up the party, that make up the working people here in Eastern Washington, and that know the struggles that working families are going through? I think this is going to be a very important question as we move forward. And then finally, I would just say that I think that I would be the best one to go advocate on your behalf because of the question that you asked when it came to special interest money. I think that's on everybody's radar. And I believe that when you get that question a lot, that's being asked, because that's the question I'm being asked when I'm at people's doors or if I'm at a function. It's always like, who owns you, basically. Yeah, I saw a really great thing. You've probably seen this before, where it was a Robin Williams quote where it said, politicians should be like NASCAR drivers. They should wear their sponsors all over their body so we knew who was sponsoring them. I was telling a friend, if that was happening in this race, mine would barely be a little patch on the tip of my my cap. So I think that all kind of makes me a good candidate. And then finally, here's my final say, I'd say, is I think we need to have someone that is really proud and loud, full on in support of President Donald Trump and the America First agenda. And I am. And I think that we need people to go in and just double down on what happened from 2016 to 2020 as it pertains to the economy and being able to slash regulations. We need to go and extend the Trump era tax cuts, particularly the corporate tax cuts, so that we can get economic development and jobs going, and that people don't have to, ship their kids out of the Spokane area because they don't have a job in their field or whatever. We hear that all the time too. That's the two things I hear, is the money and influence in politics. And then I would just love opportunity for my kids, and I think what a shared value. I don't think I think that's something that Republicans could win on from here until eternity, is trying to create opportunities for working families. If that's what you're looking for, I'm looking for your vote.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and good luck. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks, MJ.